Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Skill RPA. As part of our UiPath Test Manager Connect series, we have covered introduction to the test manager and also establishing repositories and creating a model. And also we have seen how we can synchronize the work items and requirements between UiPath Test Manager and Azure DevOps. And there is slight mistake we made when we are creating the model for Azure DevOps. So if I go to the models, this is the model which we have created, tm underscore ado. For test cases, initially we kept it as a string and we need to change it to the relationships. And so that is a slight mistake which we need to correct. And now we will go ahead and create collections for test cases and test sets in UiPath Test Manager and also for Azure DevOps. And in the Azure DevOps, we will be having a test plan, and under that, we will be having a test suites. And the test suites in the Azure DevOps reflects to test sets in the test manager. So as of now, we don't have any test sets and test cases here. And also we don't have any test plans. So we will create a test plan. Test plan 1. Click on create. So this is going to be my test plan. Under this, we will be creating test suite, which will be reflected to our test sets in the UiPath test manager. So before we create any test sets or test cases, we will build a collection and we will set up the integration between these two items. So first we will create a test case collection for UiPath, and test cases will fall under the work items and test sets will fall under the container. So we'll select work item collection and I'll say test suite, test manager, test cases. So instead I can say UiPath test cases and I'll select the repository UiPath test manager, and from the project I'll select the UiPath test manager integration, click on done. And we need to select the work item, which is test case, and the model will be the model which we have created for the test manager and ADO, and click on save. And we will validate whether the fields are properly got mapped or not. So for name to summary, description to description, area path to area path, iteration path to iteration path. So all the fields are mapped properly. Click on done. And we need to configure the relationship as well. When it comes to the test cases, we have a relationship with the test set. So we will configure the relationship. Here it will be test sets, and here it will be parent. Click on connect. Click on save. Click on done. Click on done. And our collection for the UiPath test cases is completed. Now we need to go for Azure DevOps test cases to be created for the collection. So we'll click on new collection and we'll go for the work item collection and we'll say Azure DevOps test cases. DevOps test cases, and we'll select the repository Azure DevOps, and the manage projects, we'll select the project and we'll select the work item as test case, and the model is the model created for test manager and Azure DevOps. Click on save, and we'll go for the map fields. Everything is properly mapped. Click on done, and configure relationships, parent to parent properly mapped. Click on done. Click on done. And now our test cases are got created. And now we need to create a new collection. Now in test sets, it will be a container collection because the test sets holding the test cases, a group of test cases under the container of test set. So we'll go for the container collection and we'll say UiPath test sets, and we'll select the repository UiPath test manager and the project UiPath test manager. Click on done. And under the test sets, we will be selecting test set as a artifact or container, and here it will be ADO model. Click on save. And now we will validate the fields, and all the fields are properly mapped. Click on done and configure the relationships. And here we'll go with the assign test cases to test cases. We have changed this from string to the relationships because we need to map assign test cases to the test cases. Click on connect and click on save. Click on done. So majority of the fields will be automatically mapped, and few fields might be incorrectly mapped or didn't got mapped. We need to do that mapping, and we need to go for a new collection for the Azure DevOps test sets. And in Azure DevOps, we call it as a Azure test suite. So we'll give the name as Azure DevOps test suite and select Azure DevOps and manage projects. We'll select the project, click on done. And under the artifacts, we'll select test suite, and the model is Azure model. Click on save. And now we'll go for the map fields. 99% the map fields will be properly got mapped. Click on done. And in the relationships, we will see test cases are reflecting to the test cases, which is as expected, but the parent should not be mapped to the parent. So I'll be deleting this, and here I'll go for the parent test plan, and here it is a static value. It should be always a constant value, and it is based on the projects in majority of the cases. And later we need to configure this value, but what I want to do is I will be selecting constant value, because again from project to project, again we need to select that when we are building the integration. So we will go with that route then. Constant value based on the project, set constant value, and click on configure. And now here we will be selecting set constant value, and we'll be selecting the project. In case if we have multiple projects, we will be getting multiple. And this is the test suite. We'll change this to test plan, because we need to give the test plan. It's a parent test plan, and the test plan ID, here it looks like 109. We should not pick it up. If we go back, here we will be having test plan ID, which is 108. So we'll give 108 and click on set. So it is properly mapped. In case if the ID is not correct, we will get an error, and this setup will not happen. Click on save, and we have done this relationship, done, and this looks good for us, and we'll go back to the relations, and the relation mapping is done properly. Click on done. Click on done. So we have created the collections for both Azure DevOps test suite to UiPath test manager test set, and also test cases from Azure DevOps to UiPath test manager. Now we need to set up the integration between these two. So go to the new integration. For test cases, we will be selecting work item synchronization, and we'll select the project or repository, and we'll select the collection test cases to test cases, and we need to give the name test case integration. Save. And we need to click on artifact routing because it's showing some conflict. We need to click on connect. We need to connect these two projects. Click on save. Click on done. So our setup is completed. So now we will run this workflow. Click on done. So we have two integrations already, which is work items integration, and the other is test case integration. Now we need to set up test set integrations. Click on new integration, select container work item. We'll select the repositories, and here I'll give the name of test set integration. Set integration, and we'll select the container test suite to test sets, and click on save. Once it is saved, we need to do the container mirroring, and we'll select these two projects and click on mirror. Click on save. Click on done. Now our setup is not having any validation errors. We'll click on run all, and click on done. So now my integrations for test sets and test cases also running. Now I can go ahead and create my test set or test suite here, and that will be reflected back into our test sets. So let us create. So this test plan one, which we have created as a base plan, this also got reflected because there is an option to create test cases even under the plan. And please do not delete this or ignore this particular test set which is got reflected. In case if you are going to delete from the test manager, we'll keep on getting errors in the integration. So we will create a test suite, static test suite created for Azure DevOps. This is going to be my or test suite under Azure DevOps, and this should get reflected under the test sets. And I can come here and I'll create a new test case. Test case created under test suite in Azure DevOps. Click on save and close. So we have created one test case and we have created one test suite. So these should get reflected back under the test set and also under the test case. Let me delete all these test cases. These test cases I have created in the Azure DevOps are got reflected after setting up this integration. The new one is not yet reflected. Test sets created for Azure DevOps is the test set which we have created, and this is got created a minute ago. And let me go to the test cases. So test case created under the test suite in Azure DevOps, even this is got created. If I go back to my test sets and go to the test set, under the test cases, I can see that this is got linked to this particular test set. And let me create one test case or two test cases and one test set here. And I need to have the area path and iterative path. So I'll just copy paste this. Under the test case, I'll create a new test case. Test case 1 created for test manager. And create, and I'll come to the details. And here I'll be providing the area path and iteration path. And parent test plan ID, just ignore this custom field definition. And we just need to provide these two are the mandatory, which we need to do. And this custom definition we may need to give in case if we are not setting the constant value directly in the test manager connect. So now my Azure DevOps and test manager area path and iterative paths are given. And now I need to create a test. I'll create one more test case. Test case 2 created in test manager. And same way, I need to provide the area path and iterative path. Whenever we are creating any requirements or any test cases or any test sets, we need to give this area path and iterative path. So click on create test case, test set created in test manager. Click on create test manager details. I'll be providing the area path and iteration path. So now I have created my test set and two test cases. So I'll be adding these three test cases instead of two test cases which I have created. Even whatever is created in the Azure DevOps also, I will add all these three to this new test set. Click on assign. And now we have created two test cases and one test case we have imported from or synchronized from the Azure DevOps, and under the newly created test set, we have assigned all the three test cases. Now we will go back to the Azure DevOps and refresh this page. See, we got the new test set created in test manager, and the test cases are not yet reflected here. So let me refresh it again, and I can see how it actually going under activity. Then go to the completed 112 and 114. 112 is got created. So if I refresh this, I got all the 300 this. Even this is created in the Azure DevOps, and as I assigned it under the UiPath Test Manager test set, it is got reflecting under the test suite. And in case if I remove test case 1 from here, remove, confirm, and if I go here under the activity, if I click on refresh, as soon as I remove from here, once the integration is initiated, I can go back to my test sets, and under this I have configured 3 test cases. I can go to the test case, I'll refresh this page, and it will take a while in order for this particular test case to be removed from here. Not only in terms of creation or assigning of the test cases, even from the unassigning of the test cases also will reflect back. Click on refresh. So it is also got completed. Now if I refresh, this test case 1 created for test manager will be removed from this particular test set. It's gone. So creation of the test set, updation of the test cases or test sets, or modification of the allocation or assigning and unassigning of the test cases will be reflected back in UiPath Test Manager and Azure DevOps in bi-directional. And in case if I delete some of the test cases from UiPath Test Manager, it will not get reflected back into the Azure DevOps. The deletion will not work, and all the other scenarios will be working. So this is how we will be setting up the integration between UiPath Test Manager and Azure DevOps for the test cases and test sets. Hope you liked the video, and we will be covering how the test results and test executions will be synced between UiPath Test Manager and Azure DevOps in the next video. Thank you for watching.